Laugh. My parents said, your sister's wedding is more important than your surgery date. Reschedule it. I rescheduled my whole relationship with them instead. When mom needed emergency money 6 months later, she learned what reschedule really feels like. My parents looked at me across the kitchen table like they were asking me to move a haircut. Mom folded her hands and said, your sister's wedding is more important than your surgery date. Just reschedule it. Dad didn't even look up from his coffee. You'll recover whenever, he said. Ashley only gets married once. I honestly thought they were joking. They weren't. My shoulder surgery had been scheduled for nearly 4 months. I'd torn it badly at work, and after months of physical therapy, my orthopedic surgeon told me waiting much longer could leave me with permanent damage. I'd arranged unpaid leave. My girlfriend Sarah had taken time off to help me recover, and my insurance approval had finally gone through. Ashley announced her wedding 2 months after all of that. She wanted the exact same weekend because her dream venue only had one opening. Apparently that made my surgery negotiable. I can't just move it, I said. Mom sighed. So your own sister's wedding isn't important enough? It is. My surgery is too. Ashley crossed her arms. You're always making everything about yourself. I just stared at her. Somehow needing surgery had become selfish. For the next 3 weeks, my phone never stopped ringing. Mom cried. Dad reminded me that family makes sacrifices. Ashley sent long messages about how I'd ruin the wedding if guests kept asking why I wasn't there. Not one of them asked how much pain I was in. Eventually I gave in. Not because they were right, because I was tired. The hospital found another opening almost 4 months later. My surgeon wasn't happy about the delay. Neither was Sarah. After I hung up with my mother, Sarah looked at me and quietly asked, when have they ever changed their plans for you? I couldn't answer. The wedding came. Everything revolved around Ashley. The flowers, the photographer, the expensive venue. Dad proudly told relatives he'd spent almost $38,000, making sure everything was perfect. Meanwhile, I couldn't even lift my right arm high enough to toss confetti after the ceremony. During the reception, I reached for a glass and winced. Mom leaned over and whispered, please don't make that face in front of the guests. That sentence stayed with me longer than the wedding itself. After that day, I stopped pretending. I stopped calling first. Stopped helping Dad repair things around the house. Stopped fixing everyone's computers. Stopped lending Ashley money every time she overspent. Stopped rearranging my life whenever they asked. Sarah noticed before anyone else. You seem happier, she said one evening. She was right. 6 weeks later, I finally had the surgery. Recovery was harder than it should have been because of the delay. My surgeon told me I was lucky the damage hadn't become permanent. Lucky wasn't the word I would have used. Life slowly moved forward. Sarah and I got engaged. We bought a small townhouse. We started saving every extra dollar we could. I told my parents about the engagement weeks after it happened. Mom complained she'd heard it from an aunt first. I simply said, news travels. 6 months after the wedding, my phone rang on a Friday afternoon. Mom, she sounded scared. Dad had invested nearly all of their savings with an old friend who promised big returns. The business collapsed. The friend disappeared. Then Mom needed emergency surgery, and the medical bills started arriving. They were desperate. We need $25,000, she said. Just until we get everything sorted out. I stayed quiet. You've always been responsible, she added. I looked across the room. Sarah was putting together a crib. She was 7 months pregnant. Our savings weren't extra money anymore. They were our family's safety net. Finally, Mom asked, can you help us? I remembered sitting in that kitchen. Your sister's wedding is more important than your surgery. I remembered months of unnecessary pain. I remembered Sarah changing her schedule twice because my parents wanted their lives to stay convenient. I took a slow breath. I'm sorry. Her voice softened. So, you'll help? I can't. I'd silence. We've already committed our savings to our future. I can't reschedule my family's plans. She didn't say anything. Our baby will be here soon. We have medical expenses, a mortgage, and responsibilities. We're your parents, she whispered. I know. You'd really let us struggle? I glanced at Sarah. She smiled while organizing tiny baby clothes. I answered quietly. Sometimes timing matters. She understood immediately. You don't mean. I do. You're punishing us. No. I paused. I'm following the priorities you taught me. She started crying. An hour later, Dad called. Then Ashley. She accused Sarah of turning me against the family. I wished her well and ended the call. Over the next few months, they sold their vacation cabin. Dad returned to work part-time. Ashley refinanced her house to help them. They solved the problem themselves. When our son was born, I sent one picture to the family group chat. Mom replied with 3 heart emojis. Dad wrote, he's beautiful. That was